He's got some amazing things to share with us in just a quick 30 minutes to do it in. So 2 reminders, hit speaker view in the top right-hand corner if you want to just look at Cody. And I'll be fielding your questions as they come in. You should have time at the end for some Q&A. So if you have a question, put it in the chat box or raise your hand and we'll call on you. Cody, I know how crazy you are. Thanks so much for taking time for us today.
It is so much my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. So thank you very much.
No, I'm sure you're seeing a lot of what's going on out there. I'm sure you've been on a lot of calls like this. And you guys in the Northwest are dealing with it just as bad as we are in the Northeast. So what are some things you're seeing, some of the conversations you're having? This is kind of you to run with.
You know, a couple things. Like when this whole thing started, right, it was, I don't know, like if we go back to the genesis of it, a couple things to keep in mind that keep going through my mind are no one's at fault. Like it doesn't, which is what makes this so interesting. There's nowhere to point the finger. There's nowhere to say, well, this or this, and it's not local. It's not localized. It's not in one area. It's not. I mean, it's everywhere. And what's interesting is that when this, and I'll bet a lot of you, I see, you know, well over 100 on here. I'll bet a lot of you were like me when this kind of began about 6 weeks ago. Like there were lots of opinions, right? Like, they're blowing it out of proportion, or this will never be a big deal, or it's just like the flu, or this is terrible. Like all the different thoughts, right? I was of the opinion that, it's not that big of a deal, blah, 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 blah. Like we're going to be laughing about this in a few weeks like it was Y2K. And, you know, we're 6 weeks in, no one's laughing.
Yeah.
And so like, and regardless of opinion at this point, think about being a real estate agent, right? Regardless of our opinion, it's just about irrelevant because it has impacted everybody. So whether we think people are too much, too little, it literally doesn't matter. And so when this really hit, like it forced all of us for a couple of weeks to just almost stop. One thing I do want to say, in case I don't say it later, is being about as deep in as we are today, it's okay to go back to selling a little bit. And I don't mean like selling homes, because people have been doing that or not doing that. And I have zero opinion around what's right or what's wrong. You know, one agent in my group, like my group sells in maybe 106 cities right now, my expansion team does. And I've got one agent that goes, Cody, it's inappropriate to sell homes right now. I don't want to do it. No problem. I got someone else that says, I got to sell homes to make a living and it's my job to do it and homes are selling and I'm out there doing it. No problem. I don't think, like, this is not the time for right and wrong. Yeah. This is the time for what's appropriate to you. This is the time for what matters to you. Now, sometimes that's dictated not by personal decision, but by personal position. Let me explain what I mean. If you're broke and you've got to pay bills next month, my guess is if you chose to be in real estate, you're selling homes, whether you think this or think that. And I've been there. Like, I've been broke. I've been the guy who's paid for gas with like change from the ashtray, not because I forgot my wallet, because that's all there was. By the way, who's been there like me? Would you raise your hand so I know that I'm not alone?
I've been there.
Like completely broke, where you're like you go to an event and you go, I hope they're serving lunch today. And I hope it's included, right? Like, I've been there. I will say this though, like the first couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, we got real clear on like care scripts. And what we were talking about was there were really 2 scripts that mattered. How are you and what do you need? Like, how are you doing? What do you need? By the way, I want you to think about things that only work during this time. Like, what worked during COVID? There's some things that worked pre-COVID that are irrelevant today. They'll be back again later. There's things that are incredibly relevant, and I'll give you a few ideas today that are super relevant during COVID that might not have any play in 3 or 4 months. Like, you might not be talking about it at all, though during this one short period of time. Like, this is when you can actually use this one play. So I will say 5-6 weeks in for different parts of the country, 7 weeks for a couple. Like Seattle was one of the first, kind of like your area, to go deep into this, right? And it got real bad, real fast. And of course, your area, like, we get it. 6-7 weeks in, take a cue from big business. 2 or 3 weeks in, big business, the only emails we got was how they were handling COVID. Remember all the emails we got? And you were like, okay, so great. Now I know how every business on the planet is cleaning their countertops. Awesome. Great. No more, right? And those kind of stopped. And now you're seeing big business like Fortune 100s and the giants. You're seeing big business begin to make offers again. You're seeing, like this morning, I got an email from Nordstrom and it had like, hey, here's 3 hot sales today. And that wasn't happening 4 weeks ago. So we can always watch the bigs. And when they begin to say it's okay to start doing that again, we can kind of do the same. So when you're making calls to your data bank today, it's still, how are you? It's still, what are your needs right now? It's also okay to add the third and start saying directly about real estate. Do you have any real estate needs right now? What's happening for you in real estate during COVID? And I really think, I wish that I could just have like a magic wand. I mean, I've spent, this is my whole life. Like my entire adult life is real estate. Like I put a foot in the sand and said, here I am. I wish I could get all my friends who are real estate agents to quit posting. Like I love all the funny memes. In fact, there's now well over 200 of you on here. Send me all the funny memes. Just keep them off your wall. Here's what I mean. Like I love the one where a lady's showing a home and she goes, can you see yourself being quarantined here? I think it's hilarious. I really like it. The problem is I don't think it's going to give you the play in social media that you want it to. And what I mean is this, I think we're better than that. As an industry, we should send it around inside of our industry, get a good chuckle, get a good laugh. Like the one that says, hey, imagine all the babies that are born 9 months from now. I get it. Like I 100% get it. The problem is what you're doing. And I saw one yesterday that said, hey, remember, I think it said I'm essential. And I thought, good grief, man, the guy who works at the gas station is essential too. Yeah. So let's just be clear about that. But all the things that are like waving a flag saying, hey, remember me, remember me, remember me. I sell homes. I think you're better than that. Here's what I want you to do instead. I want you to tell the story of someone who just did something. Tell the story of someone who just closed on a home. Tell the story of someone who just got in contract. Tell the story of someone who just listed their home, or tell the story of someone who just refinanced their home. All real estate related, but tell the story of the Johnson family, the Wallace family, the Willis family, whatever it is. You tell their story. Trust me, everybody sees you as the realtor in it. You don't need to do the thing where you're waving the flag saying, remember me, call me, I'm still working. I think you're 100% better than that. In other words, one of the greatest things you can learn from big marketeers is that you can always directly sell by telling a story of somebody else. Imagine someone who wants to sell you coaching. They're going to come on and talk about how they've coached somebody and how they moved their business forward. You're going to go, oh my gosh, I want to be like that person. You must be the bridge to moving from where I am to where I want to be. And that's what you're doing when you're marketing on Facebook or Instagram or social media. And a lot of us, that's one of our big outlets right now. All right, that was a really long riff to your original question.
It was all good stuff though, because I think that's what happens. People kind of knew what to do in the beginning, but it's what's now. Now that the initial care is over, how do you take that to the new level? And I think we're getting to that point where the infections are coming down, where you can start going back into that specific question asking.
You can ask directly, like right now, you can directly ask, like, what do your needs? I mean, this is an odd time. I mean, this is, here's the other thing too, in case I don't say it, I want you to write this down. You don't need long-term solutions for short-term problems. Like this issue right now, short-term problem. And when you're in a short-term problem, what you have to do is you have to take action quick. Now, 80% of plans work. So just pick one and run. If it doesn't work, change it while you're running. Like this is going to look a little bit like building an airplane midair. That's how it's going to look. You're going to be in the cockpit. You're like, things are going good. And someone's going to go, we don't have a tail. And you go, oh, crap, we should have a tail. You run back there and put a tail on the plane and you go, yeah, the tail looks great. And someone goes, who's flying? And you go, oh, yeah, I'm doing that too. Like that's what this is going to look like for a little while. And you just need to just breathe and be okay with that. You don't need like a giant system. This is not the time to say, what are the 25 systems to implement? That ain't it. This is the time to do something, see what happens. Measure it today. Measure it in 2 hours. So much of what you and I do doesn't have any impact for 100 days, 200 days, 600 days. Totally get that. That's on pause. That all goes over here. Right now, you do something in the morning and you measure it at lunch. And you go, did it work? Yes, keep doing it. No, change it. This is short-term stuff. These are all plays that you might not run in 40 days or 80 days or 200 days. These are like right now plays, which means you don't have the time. You don't have the luxury to spend a week getting ready for something right now. You ain't got it. You don't have it. This is where you spend 5 minutes and see what happens. Like this is live in progress. That's what you do right now.
What do you think are some of those things that you would measure throughout the day to make sure you're kicking butt that day?
So one of them would be this, like everyone's gone to like, in different parts of the country have different rules, right? Like, I mean, my group sells, I think, in 22 states, and in some states it's more lax, in other states it's less lax, right? Like it's, more difficult, less difficult. Like it's a little bit different everywhere, but everyone kind of went to virtual everything. And the thing is, like the smartest realtors on the planet, they all said, I've done this before. I've had an out of state or out of town buyer that I sold them the home on FaceTime anyway. Like I've done this before. I've sold a home, and the first time the buyer saw it was after they closed and they moved here. Like we've all done that. I did that 20 years ago I was so broke 20 years ago when I did that. I went and bought a camcorder at Walmart, shot the video, put the video in the mail, and returned the camcorder to Walmart, got my money back. And so, I mean, we've done the virtual stuff. Now, it took 4 days for it to get to the buyer, and today it doesn't. But we've done this forever. You're good at this. One of the things I will say, though, is like the virtual open houses. Like the best way we've seen virtual open houses work across the country is to do them via Facebook Live. And the reason is this. So, like, you do it if you say, so like Laura Gillott, she's a great agent. You should follow her, GILLOTT. She runs a team in Southern Oregon, rural, and she sells 450 homes a year. She's a monster. Check her out, follow her. You're going to like her. Incredibly, like when you talk to her, she never talks about internet lead gen. She only talks about like connecting database, talking to people, like incredible agent. Anyway, what she found was when she started doing the virtual open houses was that she would say, hey, everybody, we're going to do a virtual open house at 2:00. And she'd have like 1 or 2 people show up for it virtually. And she was a little disappointed. Though when she did them on Facebook Live and she would say, hey, we're going to go live right now, virtual open house at 123 Main Street, whatever, she still wouldn't get a ton of viewers. But what she would get is over the course of the day, she would get tons of play. Remember, Facebook supports and rewards Facebook Live. Facebook likes its own product. So when you do it, it shoves it back towards the top and promotes it more to your database. That's important to remember. And so she looked at it and she goes, by the end of the day, she had like 920 views.
Wow.
And she said, listen, even the ones who just clicked for a half a second and left, even my friends that clicked on it, she goes, it doesn't matter. If you divide that in half, she goes, that's 400 and something. I've never had 400 and something people at any open house. Mm-hmm. So no matter what, like this is juice. One of the things that you could do right now, everybody on this call should do this. One, find something that you're passionate about and start putting out content. If you love to cook, then do a 20-minute live cooking show. If you love to bake, do a baking something. Again, nobody may give a damn in 3 months or 4 months about that, but right now they might watch. Right now they might care. If you're all about understanding stocks, then do a quick 5-minute thing about, hey, I was looking at stocks this morning. Here's what I see. Here's what I think. I mean, you can do anything you want. Pick something that you have a passion to and push the content out. What everybody should be doing is this has play right now. It probably won't in 4 months, and it didn't 4 months ago, but this is a right now play. Go to 5 or 10 business owners. If you live in a more metro area, then pick different classes of business, like all restaurants, all dry cleaners, all chiropractors. Remember, like the medical industry, there's a whole group that is completely shuttered right now. Dentists, they're out of work. Chiropractors, out of work. Anybody who wouldn't be like front line, they can't see people, out of work. Like all the little surgery clinics and day spa type clinics and all those shut down. So put those together. If you're in a more metro area like you guys are, what I would want you to do is this though: go find 5 to 10 of them that you know or you need to know. Invite them to a mastermind and say, listen, I'm gonna put together a mastermind. And it's just going to be, how do we pivot our business to be somewhat virtual? Is there any virtual piece you could do? Which is why you would go separate. Like the restaurant one is real easy. Like you just take out or whatever, right? But I would still do it. Here's what's important though. You ask them, who do you want in this mastermind with you? They're going to give you a couple of names. You get to go invite them. And what you just did was expand your entire database.
Yeah, there you go. Referral.
The important thing about this, you need to hear me on this. You don't need to know the answer. You just need to facilitate. You can bring 1 or 2 ideas. You can say, here's something my industry's doing. What do you think? Hey, XYZ Cairo, what do you think? What are you doing? Is there any opportunities? Is there something that you could sell? Is there something that you could do? All you have to do is facilitate. You don't need to worry about having the answer. But the important thing is this: And I mean, I was doing a live group maybe last week, and I had Abe Shreve on it, who's a genius. And Abe made this comment. He said, Cody, remember, who they're hearing today is going to dictate who they're listening to tomorrow. And what he was meaning was this: whoever's hearing your content today is going to dictate who they listen to tomorrow for real estate. And so this is the time that you come out of the gate with content, and you just push content, push content, push content. And you're going to have to do it like this. You're going to have to do it with Zoom. You're going to have to do it with Facebook Live. You're going to have to do it with video. It's okay. And if you don't like the way you look on video, you don't look any better in person. So just get over that. Like, that's what it is. Like, it doesn't get any better. Like, this is just real life, baby. You're like, I don't like the way I sound. It's like, well, you sound like that in real life. So just get over that. Just keep pushing out content.
You mentioned the Facebook Live. Actually, two things. We've heard these two things quite a bit. The networking with other business owners has been a huge common theme. And the Facebook Live, someone mentioned about a week ago that the 25-minute mark is important on Facebook Live. That if you hit that 25 minutes, it gets much more shared. Is that a true statement?
Right. Yeah. So depth. So what Facebook is doing is all it's doing is rewarding content. And you're just promoting content. Everybody on here should be doing a first-time home buyer clinic. You should be doing a how to buy a home during COVID clinic. You should be how to stage your house during COVID. Like, things that you and I would take for granted that we already know. The world who's not on this webinar doesn't know it. Right. And so you put it out there. And what happens is you put it out there, you send it out, you give it to your database, then you post it on YouTube. Every one of us should be putting so much use into YouTube right now. And you say things like buying a home in XYZ city, buying a home in XYZ school district, how to buy a home in XYZ school district for under X per square foot. In the old days of real estate, we used to do websites. And at the bottom of the website, we would put tons of words like Deer Park Community, 3-bedroom home. And all those they were called meta tags. And back in the early 2000s, like 08, 06, 05, Google would send creepers and crawlers into our websites, and that's how it ranked organic. That's how it pushed it up. It doesn't happen anymore. Now, though, on video, it's so smart, which is why Google bought YouTube. It's so smart. It's watching the video and hearing it and picking your words out of it, which is why you constantly drop words into those YouTube videos, and that's what gets pushed forward. It's easier today than it's ever been to push organic content to the top of the search box. You just have to know what things to say. And so enunciate it, say it, whatever. But you could be doing, so I've got this coaching group, and I had someone hosted it was a buyer clinic, and it was like how to buy a home during COVID. They only had one person come to it. And let's be clear, they were like, that kind of sucks. Like, I don't feel good about it. Well, that one person that they did not know had seen it on Facebook. They're a pre-approved buyer in their market for like $600,000 or $700,000. And now they have a buyer rep agreement signed. And so was it worth it to do it? By the way, then they left it online and it got more juice after that. And so you just almost have to be willing to talk to the camera to one person, knowing that it could be 100, knowing that it could be 1,000. But keep doing it. Don't stop the content.
We had a question here. What word specifically? So I heard you say town, price point. Are there certain words that you think are searched more than other words when it comes?
I mean, think about the 3 Ds of real estate. They've always worked, right? They always cause business to happen: death, divorce, the job. Like, those 3 Ds have always worked for as long as we've been realtors. So talk about those things. So like I live in Portland where all the cool things are. And so I might make a comment like within 10 minutes of the Nike campus. We have tens of thousands of employees who work at Nike, and there's people that would say, hey, I'm moving to Portland. I want to live within 10 minutes of the Nike campus. You might have a giant hospital. I know that you do. And you might say within a 20-minute commute of XYZ hospital, or close commute to XYZ facility or campus or whatever. Those are all, just think about the things people ask you when they move to your city. And then you drop those into the comments. Like, if you've got an amazing private school, then you might say within a 10-minute drive of XYZ private school or XYZ gym. Like, all those things that people want to live next to, all those landmarks. You just have to know what they are, and then just keep saying it. And trust me, like, Google's going to pick them out, especially if it's video. It'll pick it out.
And if you live in a commuter line area up here, make sure you
Yes.
come on the train stations, within X distance of this train
Mark,
station.
yeah. The carpool lots, the
Yeah.
train stations, the depots, all that stuff. Yes, incredibly important. Like out in the West, we don't have much of that, but in the city, like in Portland and Seattle, we do. So that's a really good point. In those two cities, we will say, hey, within 10 minutes of XYZ ride share or XYZ metro or whatever. Much bigger deal for your area. But yes.
You mentioned before that, don't spend time creating all new systems. But what are the couple of things, I think you've already talked about them, but I want to verify, the things that have been created this last couple of weeks that are going to be here for a while, that have adapted themselves into our industry?
Well, like take, for example, database, right? Like, and think about what's not being talked about today. When all of this blew up, and it like really shut down. It was like 4 Thursdays or 5, maybe even 6 Thursdays ago. Now, like, I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know what day it is. Whatever quarantine, I'm not sure. It feels like yesterday, and it's going to feel like tomorrow. But remember a couple things about this. Think about December the 18th. The reason December 18th is so important, you're a week before Christmas. The real estate industry isn't super busy on December the 18th. It's not spring selling season. It's not the middle of summer. It's not a typical move date. But what's important about December 18th is there's fewer buyers and sellers. During COVID, there's fewer buyers and sellers. Like, we know that to be true. However, the ones that exist are just like the ones on December 18th. They both have a high degree of motivation. So while there's fewer of them, and you and I feel that in our industry, they're both motivated. Like, it's that one day out of the year that you go, hey, the seller who does exist right now, motivated. The buyer who is looking right now, instead of shopping for Christmas gifts, motivated. And that's what this looks like. Like, we're living in our industry Groundhog Day of December 18th over and over and over again, because the people who do exist are motivated. Now, the people who aren't motivated, they will be at some point. And I would quit saying things like one of the good plays right now, and you're already seeing a bunch of them. One of the good plays right now that has great juice that will be overplayed in 3 or 4 months is a daily update. No one cares about a daily update before COVID. No one cares after COVID, but it is interesting during COVID. Like, some of you are going to your news station every day on the website and looking up how many new cases today, because it's interesting, like, how many new cases today. And so just think, you didn't care how many people had the flu 4 months ago, but you care right now. So think about it like that. So some of the play that you see on Facebook where it's like, hey, number of new listings today, number of new sales today, like whatever, price corrections today, whatever, those things have play. And remember, people are interested. We can't go to parties right now. But if you were at a party right now and someone found out you were in real estate, what is the one for sure question they would ask you?
What's this going to mean to the market? What's happening to
100%.
prices?
They would all ask, how's this affecting real estate right now?
Yep.
So just imagine that's the question being asked. You just got to put out the content. And then you almost have to turn a blind eye to how many likes or comments or play that you get from it. It's almost irrelevant. The fact that they see it is what matters. Now, you can put it out there and then boost it to make sure you get it in front of people. And right now, some of the best, some of the cheapest cost per lead, the CPL, that we've seen in years is right now, because there's more people on. So like Facebook will tell you, there's almost a 210 or 220% user rate. In other words, double what it was before COVID. Totally makes sense if you're at home, right? The average person before COVID spent 55 or 57 minutes a day doing this.
That's 6 hours.
Yeah. The question that you have to answer is, how do I stop the scroll? Those are the 3 words, stop the scroll. What do I put on here that has them stop? Now, what you can do is you can boost it and you can buy leads. Our cost per lead for Google and our cost per lead for Facebook during COVID has gone down into the basement. Like, we're not half, but we're about 35% cheaper per lead because there's more of them. When there's more leads available, the cost to get to them is cheaper. So if you're doing any play on Google or Yahoo, I guess, any type of play on that or Facebook, it's cheaper than it's ever been. People still click on the things like, what's my home worth right now? Only you would change the positioning of the message. You would, instead of saying, find my home value in 60 seconds, you would say, what's my home worth during COVID in 60 seconds? Nice. Think about what grabs someone's attention. Be a news anchor. Like, those are the things that grab attention. You and I both know it doesn't change that much. The other thing is this, like someone said the other day, they went on this long rant about how this wasn't affecting pricing, and then said, Cody, what's your opinion? Basically saying, agree with me that this won't affect pricing. And I said, I can't agree with you on that. I said, number one, I don't have a crystal ball and I can't tell the future. Number two, I don't think it's the realtor's job to predict pricing. I think it's the realtor's job to say, here's what pricing did, not what it will do. Like that's a scary slope. By the way, is it affecting pricing? Hell yeah, it's affecting pricing. The question is, will it affect it long-term or short-term? 27 or 28% of all government-backed loans fell out of escrow because they couldn't qualify anymore. Remember when the feds changed it from 580 to a 620 minimum credit score for FHA loans? 27 or 28% died on the table. Like they don't close anymore. You can't tell me that a seller who was about to close in 4 days that finds out their buyer can't close doesn't go right back on the market and might be a little softer, might take a little hit on the closing costs. You can't tell me it doesn't affect pricing. The question is, will it affect pricing long term? You and I don't know that. Somebody else asked, how is this different from '08, like when the market crashed last time? I don't know that it is. And they were trying to make the point that it's not the same thing. And I said, well, gosh, it's never the same thing.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at every time our market dramatically changes or shifts or crashes, whatever term you want to use, one time it was because of oil prices. One, which is also interesting right now. Oil right now is so cheap. To sell it to you, they'd have to pay you to take the barrel. It was $32 negative. Now, no one's going to do that, but they would have to pay you to unload the barrel. Think about all the gas stations that aren't selling gas right now. You're about to see a dramatic drop in gas price. And by the way, when we realized I'm from Alaska originally. We realized real fast how much oil dictates so much in our economy. Anyway, this is where you get in front of people and you say, here's what's happening right now. If you're in the market today, here's what you need to know. If you're in the market in 2 months, here's what you need to know. And the thing is, you just have to keep pushing out the content over and over. You can't over communicate to your data bank today. Can't be done. Can't be done. Text is a big deal right now. So 13% of all emails get opened and 91% of all text messages get opened. And so go online and find, you can find, if you Google it, you can search it, the Google machine. You can find text message apps where you can load a ton of numbers, ton of names, and it will text them one-to-one. It's just you're not actually having to do it.
Right.
But text them. Like, this is where you do it. Now, by the way, if you're going to text people, we've done this in my hub for years, right? And we have a call center in the hub. And some of the things that we've learned from mass text marketing, like tens of thousands of them, is there's a couple of them, and you'll have to write them down. Number one, shorter the better. So think about Twitter, right? Like there's a character limit. I think it's 240 or 270 limit. Like that's there for a reason. Like it's telling you this is how much the adult learner will actually read. Right. So number two, here's where we get a better response. Trust me on this, give it some play. If you have a misspelled word, we get a better response rate on text messages with a misspelled word. Number three is a emoji. When we use emojis, we get a better response rate. Number four, not commercial looking. In other words, the less professional it looks, the better play we get from it. And the reason is this. Think about how you text. Your friend that invites you over for dinner, which isn't happening right now, but let's just assume. Like, I love the meme that said, listen, when all this is over, invite me to everything. I promise I'm coming this time. I'm never going to cancel again. Like, we all get it. Like, well, I'm coming to everything. But imagine your friend who sends you a text about dinner. They don't say, dear Cody. They don't say that. They just say, hey, do you and Margaret want to come up to the house for dinner on Thursday? How about 6? Like, they just say it like that. So you talk like a friend does, even if you're not yet. But you get more play with it. 91 or 92% of all text gets opened. Like, this is the time to put play on that. Start those texting campaigns. Nice. If you don't come out of COVID with a rock solid database, then time wasn't your issue. If you've been sitting around for a year or 20 saying, hey, I get this database put together, blah, 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 I totally get you, man. I get you. But if you don't come out of COVID with that thing rocking, time wasn't your problem. Mm-hmm. You got to find a new excuse.
Love that, Cody. Thank you so much for your time. I know you had a hard stop at 2:30. Any other final thought? I mean, that's a great final thought. I had a new agent post a private message to me saying he's been on for 3 weeks, but he's new and doesn't feel like he has the knowledge to do some of the things we've talked about. But database, you don't need any knowledge to build a rockstar database right now. You just need to do it.
Knowledge, remember, knowledge doesn't come, well, knowledge can come from experience, but that's one of 3 areas that knowledge comes from. So knowledge comes from experience, knowledge comes from mistakes, and knowledge comes from research. It's one of those three. And a lot of us, whether we're new or not new, here's a news flash for you. Everybody here is new right now.
Yeah.
No one's been here. No one's been here. I've seen market shift. I haven't seen this before. So we are all new together. So sometimes we use those things almost like an internal excuse pattern, but none of us were around when Rome was built. But any one of us could read and become a historian and become an expert about how Rome was built. Do you get my point?
I do.
You can't wait. Like you got to get rid of that one. Like you just research the hell out of this, and you find. I mean, some of the research that you should be doing is what are the other realtors in my marketplace doing?
Right.
Watching them. Like a friend of mine put together a supper club. It's ridiculous. He put together a supper club, and he's got was it 1,200 people? Yeah. He had 1,200 people in his database. Let me just tell you this. Do you guys have one more minute?
Oh, we have time. Yeah. As much time as you want to give us.
So just let whoever's at 11:30 know I'm 2 minutes late. He put together this supper club, and what he did, it was local. Do you remember the name, Lacey?
It was the...
Would you find it while I'm telling the story?
Yeah.
She's going to tell it to you so you can go look at it on Facebook. It's got so much play. Here's what happened, though. He put together a supper club somewhere in Atlanta, I think. She'll get the name for us. And he invited a bunch of restaurants to it, and then he found some restaurants to do a discount on food. Doesn't cost him a dime. Then he got a bunch of people involved in the Facebook group that all love to eat. You and I are experts at eating.
Yeah,
like
without doubt.
Like we're as good as it gets. And one night, the restaurant had 85 orders for dinner.
Mm.
Do you know how big 85 orders is to a restaurant today? That is massive. Just think of who they're talking to about real estate in 4 months. By the way, they decrease like their average cost of an entree from 16 to 12. Like everyone's willing to do it. So the name of it, go check it out on Facebook. It's called The Socially Distanced Supper Club, North Atlanta Suburbs. The Socially Distanced Supper Club, North Atlanta Suburbs. It's a really good group. What he did, though, is he woke up the other morning and he had like 24 people requesting to get into it. Now, I just need you to time out for a second. I would put to the test. If you're on our call right now, he might be only, think about database. A piece of your database, it's one bucket. My guess is he'd be the only person on this webinar who goes, yeah, I woke up this morning and people were asking to get into my database. Do you follow me on this?
Great idea.
Like you got to put together some stuff that people will then ask to get in. One of the greatest people I know that did this before COVID, which had great run. He's an agent in Vegas, and what he did was he adopted a no-kill animal shelter. And what he does is he says, listen, we've got this one puppy or dog or cat, or like they do all kinds of animals. We're going to pay $50 to take care of the animal this week. Who do you know who would love to adopt it? Wow. That whole thing, I tell like a 30-minute story around it. That whole thing grew into a Facebook group that today is like 17,000 members.
Wow. Wow.
And the vast, and get this. Now, you got to pick things that you care about, right? Like the no-kill animal shelter probably isn't my play. I mean, I grew up in Alaska. I love animals. They're all really tasty. And so for me, like the no-kill animal shelter might not be my thing. But for somebody else, it could be. So pick something you love. But my point is this. What he does is when he goes on there and says, hey, we adopted this little cat, who wants to adopt, we'll pay for this week. Who wants to adopt the cat? He enjoys doing it. So it's not like work to him. And that's where 90% today, 90% of his 300 sales a year in Vegas come from that Facebook group. Wow. That is such a big play. And he loves doing it. And he becomes a connector. So somebody hears that story, go find something. I mean, I'm going to only guess that local animal shelters, like COVID didn't shut those things down.
Nope.
And they're probably hit incredibly hard right now. Find something like that. Remember, though, that COVID shut down a party. COVID shut down a church group that can't meet on Sunday. COVID postponed your daughter's lacrosse team. Damn it, COVID didn't stop your dreams.
Yep.
COVID didn't put your goals and your family and your hopes and your business on ice. That's not been canceled. That's not been postponed. It's just a little different how we get there.
Cody.
So check out that supper club. It's really, really good. Check it out.
Awesome.
Do something like that in your market.
Yep. You said it before. I'll say it again. Find something you're passionate about, and then build content around it, build a room around it, build discussion around it.
Yep.
I love it.
Thank
Cody,
you for having me.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. We appreciate everything you do. If I can return the favor, just let me know.
Thank you. All right. Have a great day, guys.
Have a great one. Hey, folks, stand board for one more minute as Cody leaves. A couple of updates. Number one, we've got a new Zoom link moving forward. We're changing our Zoom platform. We're going with the facilitator model. So you'll see the 2 or 3 people that are talking up on the screen. That will support our our masterminds that we're going to be launching over the next few weeks quite a bit, where we might have 7 or 8 people discussing an idea at one time. So Emily's going to post, correct, Emily, the new links in the chat box. So make sure you save these links. MarketCenterZoom.com will still be pointed at them, but that link will be important moving forward. Emily, go through the quick guest list we have. We added a new guest for next Monday. So we've got
Tomorrow's Mike McCann.
Mike McCann, the real estate man from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, is tomorrow.
We have Mike Brody on Wednesday.
Mike Brody, the #1 profit share earner, Keller Williams, talking about wealth building strategies.
Michael Brand on Thursday.
Thursday's up in the air on as far as market update goes. Friday is the director of labs, David Voorhees, the director of labs, coming to talk about the consumer experience that a lot of folks have asked us about. Next Monday is Diana Kokoska. Who here knows Diana Kokoska? Raise your hand. Diana Kokoska is talking about something she's learning from John Maxwell, all about how to mentally and emotionally get through what we're going through. And she's going to break it down into very simple steps. Diana's probably going to run more like an hour and 15 minutes. So please, plan accordingly for Diana. It will be longer. Then we got Chris Suarez next Tuesday. If you got an aha from Cody Gibson, toss it in the box. Yes, all of these sessions are recorded. If you're one of my market centers or a regional Facebook group, they're in the closed groups. They're also available on my personal Facebook page, which we'll put that in the chat. They'll probably be available end of today, beginning of tomorrow. It takes a little bit of time to get them posted. Any other final thoughts or questions? Please pay attention as we play the funny video. Don't worry, we have a funny video to wrap up our day with. Before we play the funny, as we're playing the funny video, watch the chat box and pay attention to the ahas that other folks got. Play the video.